Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Lexi Thierry and I am a faith-based lifestyle YouTuber, and I just share my life. I share natural living, I share faith, I share fitness, I share mom life, all the things here on my channel. But today specifically, I'm making this video in honor of World Mental Health Day. My mental health is something that I've kind of dabbled in before, talking about on social media and on YouTube. But honestly, it's not something that I really love to open up about on here, because it's like when you get that vulnerable about your mental health, it opens up a lot of even more room for negativity and judgment and all the things more than I already get. And it's just something that I've tried to be real about without going too in depth in. And today I just want to talk a little bit more about it because it is World Mental Health Day, and I just first want to say that this is extremely serious. If you are struggling with mental health in any way, any shape, any form, I just want you to know that you're not alone. If you have come to this video and you maybe clicked on it because you saw the mental health thing, or maybe you are aware that it's World Mental Health Day, and maybe you're looking for some comfort or someone to relate to or someone to help you feel like you're not alone, I hope that watching this video, even if you don't have the same experience as me, you can feel comforted and know that your life matters. You matter, you are valuable, you are worthy, you are loved, and I can tell you that I don't even know who you are, and I love you, and I mean that with complete sincerity. But before we get into me talking about like my mental health and the things that I'm currently struggling with, can we please normalize therapy? Can we not feel shameful for it? Or I don't even really know where it comes from, because if I'm being honest, and I want to be honest with you guys, therapy was something that I knew that I probably should go into or do at some point, but it was never something that I was like, all right, I'm gonna invest in this, I'm gonna do it. And I'm disappointed in myself for that, because I think that in some form, in some way, like we should all seek counseling about something. So like before you get married, it's kind of traditional, I guess, to have marriage counseling. You get counseling before you get married. So like that's normal. But why is it not, why is there so much shame and judgment and all of these things surrounding like mental health therapy or therapy for trauma or anything? And I don't think that it should be that way anymore. I don't think that that is something to feel shameful about in any way, shape, or form. And I actually am seeing a therapist now. So I have decided that from what I've been through in the past, and then the trauma of my pregnancy, along with the trauma of my birth, and my son's birth, and all of that is something that, like, in order to feel fully healed mentally and emotionally from that, and like when I want to get pregnant again, I need to talk to someone about it. I need to work through emotions that maybe I have suppressed, maybe I haven't fully like dabbled in, and I know that I have some emotions surrounding pregnancy and birth that I need to heal from. But what is really cool about the counseling or the therapy that I am seeking is that it is faith-based, which is, you guys know, important to me. So the counseling that I'm getting is actually through a company called Faithful Counseling. I'm really excited to be working with them, and this actually is a partnership in this video. However, this is very, very real. This is very serious, and this is my mental health. This is something that I need to work through, and I'm very grateful for this opportunity, and I'm grateful to be able to share it with you guys, because it is so necessary in our world today, especially with the pandemic and COVID and racial injustice and all of the heaviness on the world that is very well displayed right now. We all need some type of help, and that's okay to admit. So Faithful Counseling has certified therapists who are board certified to provide therapy and counseling. Faithful Counseling is a solution to someone who's wanting the type of like traditional therapy or counseling, but wanting it from a Christian perspective. And like I said, that's super important to me. And I don't think that necessarily if you are a Christian that you need you need a counselor who is a Christian. However, in my own personal opinion and in my own experience so far, it is very helpful to have someone who has a biblical perspective, who is spirit-led, who lives in the truth of the Bible and has a relationship with God. That's very important to me, because I do think that a lot of the healing that I need is a lot of emotional healing, but also like spiritual. I need to release some things to God, and I'm gonna be able to do that and am doing that way easier when someone is talking to me about my spiritual life and talking to me about the things that I do need to give to God. And so either way you go is amazing. Either way you go is going to provide you help, but faithful counseling for me was the solution that I needed for my current struggles and my past struggles. What I think is really cool about faithful counseling too is that with my therapist, as of right now, we just message, we just text, we just message back and forth about stuff. And I know that's not for everyone. And we are going to in the future, we haven't been able to like figure out a time yet, but in the future, we're going to set up like video calls and have a one-on-one conversation real time. It's very convenient in my opinion, because with a traditional counselor, you have to set aside time to drive there. You have to set aside time to, like block out time in your day to do that. And if you use faithful counseling, if you are not able to leave your home right now, if you still have restrictions in your state and you're not able to leave and go see a counselor, seeking help through faithful counseling is like so needed right now. So needed. Faithful counseling is around $65 to $85 a week, but there is financial aid for those who qualify, which I think is really awesome and important. So if signing up for faithful counseling is something that you feel spirit-led to do, if it's something that you pray on and you feel like, all right, this is what I need to do, then you can receive 10% off your first month by using the link in the description below. So now to get into some of the things that I'm talking about to my therapist and the things that I'm working through. I'm not going to go into super deep detail because it is extremely personal to me, but I first off just want to say that like I have said this before, but I've struggled with mental health before. When I was either junior high or going into high school, I actually decided I had some behavioral issues where I would just like rage for no reason. Like my mom would ask me a question and when I got home from school, and it would literally just be like, how's your day? And I would just snap at her and like for absolutely no reason. And I could feel myself while I was snapping at her being like, why am I snapping at her? What is going on right now? And so, and I had a lot of anxiety going to school. I had friends, but I didn't want to be around friends. I didn't want to hang out with anyone. I just wanted to be at home. But at the same time, I didn't. At the same time, I wanted to be out with people, and it was just like I felt stuck in between these two people that I wanted to be, and I couldn't figure out why. So eventually my mom took me to a psychiatrist, and I was prescribed some medication for what he called was bipolar depression. Since that has been a few years ago, I don't know if it was necessarily bipolar depression, but that was what his diagnosis was, and that is what I went on medication for. I was not on medication for very long because I quickly was able to, for whatever reason, whether it was God or whatever intervention it was, I was able to get off that medication and stop those weird behaviors and those behaviors that really didn't make sense to me and felt like it wasn't me. So I'm very grateful to God for that, but it was kind of where my mental health stuff came in from. And then in high school, I started having 2 eating disorders. I was bulimic and I was a binge eater, and they pretty much took over my life, and every day I was making myself throw up. I can't even tell you how many times I would literally be in class and knowing nobody would probably be in the halls or be in the bathrooms, and we just got done from lunch, and I would ask the teacher to go to the bathroom, and I would make myself throw up. And I got really good at it, and this is triggering, so please, this whole thing is triggering, so please, if you know that this is going to be triggering for you, please, viewer discretion advised. But I got really good at it, so making myself throw up would be like easy to me. And I just remember harboring this secret and feeling like super disappointed in myself every single time that I would make myself throw up, and extremely disappointed in myself when I would binge eat an entire chocolate cake or an entire tub of chocolate ice cream or an entire box of cereal. Just whatever I felt like I needed, I would eat all of it. And then I would be disappointed in myself because I knew that I would be going to make myself throw up everything that I just ate. And I don't know why I felt like the satisfaction from eating all this food would fulfill me. I don't know why I felt like making myself throw up would make me feel better about eating all the food. I don't really know. And that's something that we're definitely working through. But eventually I was able to stop all of my eating disorders, and that is only by the grace of God. But I still have a lot of mental and emotional damage from that time. And I'm still repairing my relationship with food. I have a great relationship with my body now, especially since being pregnant and going through all the things that I did. But there are suppressed emotions that I do need to work through that I want to be free from. I want to be completely free from. But the thing that we are talking about most right now between me and my therapist is my pregnancy and birth trauma. If you don't know, I have a lot of videos documenting our story on my channel, but my son was diagnosed with spina bifida and at 20 weeks gestation, and I ended up having fetal surgery on him while I was pregnant. And there's a whole story behind that, and there's a whole miracle working. There's a lot of things behind that I encourage you to watch because it's really cool. But no one, unless you've been through something like that, unless you've gone to your 20-week ultrasound and heard the words, your baby might not walk, your baby might have neurological dysfunctions, your baby might not pee or poop on his own, your baby might not, like all of these things, your baby might not be healthy. And when you're given the option first, before anything else, to abort your child, when you are just going in thinking like, I'm gonna see this miracle on the screen, and you hear that there was something that happened where they weren't formed, their spine wasn't formed, and you sit in the doctor's office and you hear about all the things that potentially are going to go wrong, and then you hear about all the things that you're going to be walking through, and it's just a lot, and it's numbing. That's the only word that I can think of to describe it, is numbing. Like, you hear people talk about having out-of-body experiences where they feel like the news that they're getting or something, they're not in their body and they're outside of their body looking in on the conversation, and you black out and you don't remember a lot of the conversation. And that's what happened to me, and it's probably the most, I don't even know, like, see, I'm still working through these emotions, I'm still trying to figure it out, but it was extremely traumatizing for me. And although I was filled with so much hope and so much trust in God, the human feelings, the human emotions, I'm still gonna feel, and I'm still going to have damage from what happened. And so not only do I have emotional damage, I also have physical damage that I have to work through my scar and internal things that are happening, and I carry those things now, literally. So walking through what we went through, and then having this extremely intense, risky surgery on me and my child, and going through all the doctor's appointments then, right beforehand, and hearing about all the things that could happen through the surgery, and hearing that I might lose my life, or my child might lose his life, or we both might, or he might be delivered in the surgery, which would mean he would be delivered at 24 weeks gestation. And just having to, it was like I was constantly being flooded and filled and just consumed with all of these like what ifs, this could happen. And I tried as much as I was being filled with them to pour them out at the feet of Jesus, but I'm a human being, and it's not easy for me to do that always. And again, I had so much trust and so much faith in God, but I still felt those things. Then going through the surgery and waking up and having so much pain, physical pain, while at the same time knowing that it was successful was a really interesting place to be. Because, well, when I had my surgery, I got an epidural because the purpose of the epidural was to numb your like stomach area, because that's where the surgery was. And my epidural did not work. So when I woke up from surgery, I felt everything from the surgery. And what also happened was that they told me that Azariah would probably not be super active right away after the surgery, and that was not the case. So imagine if you're a mom who has had a C-section. Imagine having a C-section like surgery, but leaving the baby inside to continue to kick, to continue to grow on your scar, on your incision, and be kicking your incision and be, sorry, this is like bringing back all the things. And having to try to heal physically from that while also like wanting your child to grow and wanting your child to stay inside for as long as possible. Imagine that. I don't even know if you can imagine that unless you've had something like a C-section or you've had this exact surgery, and it's hard and it's very painful, and there's a lot of emotions and a lot of physical trauma that come from that, and a lot of emotional damage that I really need to work through. And I'm so proud of my body. I'm so proud of my scar. However, sometimes my scar is hard to look at for me. Sometimes Azariah's scar is hard to look at for me. And I don't think that that makes me a bad mom. I don't think that that makes me any less grateful for what we went through, because it's not the case. It just means that I need to heal. It just means that as strong as maybe I was, only because I was operating in God's strength through everything that I went through, there were still human things that I need to work through, and still things that I need to let God have. And then being 3 hours away from home and not being able to see my family very often, and not being able to see my friends, and not being able to move and do simple things because of pain, and because I couldn't, because I was on bed rest, and all the while just feeling lonely, even though I was surrounded by people most of the time, especially the time that I was in the house after surgery. But then getting the devastating news of being admitted to the hospital for the rest of my pregnancy, and knowing that God was going to be sovereign and he was going to use it, and he was going to be faithful to continue to keep Azariah in my womb. It was traumatizing to know that for the next, I don't even know how long, but I knew that it would be a while, for the next however many days, which ended up being 54 days, staying in a hospital bed and literally just getting up from the hospital bed to go to the bathroom. And that's all the movement that I could do. And throughout the week being alone, because Craig had to work and my family had to work and they couldn't be there, and they came up as much as possible, and I will forever be grateful for that. But I was surrounded by 4 walls and a window where all I saw was a tree for 54 days. And I couldn't go outside. I couldn't open the window to get fresh air. And it was neat because it was just me and Azariah a lot of the time, and we got to bond in a really cool way that some people don't get to bond. And I got to see him all the time. I had ultrasounds 2 times a week. Nobody knows the hours that I spent crying when I was alone, when nobody was there, when no nurses would come in. The hours I spent crying, thinking that, like just asking God to feel his presence more than I ever have, because I felt more alone than I ever have. And then sucking back in all of my tears when a nurse came in to check him or to put a monitor on me, and just longing to have a conversation with them, but knew they couldn't because they had other patients to talk to. And while there were some nurses who literally like sat on the end of my hospital bed and talked to me for 30-45 minutes, it was incredible. But it was just a very lonely place to be, all while God was doing all these miracles. And I could not have made it through that without my family, without my friends, without you guys and your prayers, without the awesome nurses that I had, and without God making himself so real to me during that time. And I held on to my faith more than I ever have in my life, and that's the only reason that I made it through. And then the trauma of my birth, and my birth was beautiful. If you've seen my birth video, then you know what I'm talking about. And it was beautiful, and it was everything that it wasn't everything that I could have imagined. It didn't go exactly the way that I planned, which I knew that it wouldn't, but it was beautiful, and I felt God's presence, and every single person in the room felt God's presence. But I actually don't think I'm gonna be able to talk about it like in depth. But my post-birth trauma, nope, I'm not gonna be able to talk about it, you guys. I'm sorry, but if you watch my birth video and you see what happened post Azariah coming into the world and being laid on my chest and what happened afterwards, that is very significant for me, and I do have PTSD from that. So, and I cannot talk about it anymore. So I have to heal from that, and talking about that with my therapist. We actually haven't dived super like deep into that yet because I have all the other things, and then the trauma of like having Azariah come into the world and being able to see him for 1 hour, and then being swept away to a completely different hospital. And then the next time I see him, he's surrounded, or he's covered in wires and monitors, and he has an IV in, and I can't even hold him the way that you would hold a baby who is not in the NICU, because he's covered in wires and you don't want to pull him off, and you don't want to hurt his little hand with his IV in it, and he's just in this little like incubator tube, and you just have to watch him. And then he got jaundice, and we couldn't hold him for 2 days, and yeah, just a lot of heaviness. I think that God was so sovereign that he allowed me to feel those emotions, and he allowed me to feel the emotions, but at the same time, he gave me so much peace during that time that he didn't let me sit in them for very long. He didn't let me be consumed by the emotions or the feelings that I was having and the trauma of it. He kept me, and he sustained me, and he held me and gave me peace and gave me comfort. And he's still giving that to me now, but he knows that after I had Azariah, I went through a period of rest where I just got to soak in this newness of this new life and coming back home and the miracles that he had done. And now I feel like he's like, all right, Lex, like, you've had the rest. I still want you to rest, but I also want you to have healing. I want you to have freedom from these things, and you can't move forward unless you do. I feel like my situation is very unique, and not everybody has the same experience that I do with birth and post-birth and all of those things. But either way, the mental health aspect of it, the healing, the depression, the anxiety, the emotions that I've felt since that, and even in that, are very real, and they're very, very important for me to heal from, very, very important for me to not keep in anymore, because they have added to my postpartum depression and my postpartum anxiety, and I don't want to live in that. I want to be free from them because I want to enjoy Azariah's life. I want to enjoy this season of him being still under a year old, and I don't want to give away any more of my time to being depressed or to being anxious or any of those things, or to harboring these feelings of pain and emotional trauma. I want to release them. So that is why I'm seeking counseling. That is why I'm seeking therapy. And I encourage you that if you have anything in your life that you feel like maybe it would help to talk to somebody about it, talk to somebody about it. And if you feel like right now your only option is to do something like investing in faithful counseling where you can talk to someone online or digitally, do that. Do that for yourself. Do yourself and honor yourself in that way, because you matter today. Your mental health matters. And if you're a mom, your mental health is one of the best gifts that you can give your children, because if you are good, if you are in a good place, then you get to show your kids that you're in a good place. Then you get to show up for them mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, all of these ways, and you get to live in freedom and fully live in their life. And that's a gift that I want to give to Azariah. Don't forget that if you want to invest in faithful counseling, then you can click the link in the description and get 10% off your first month. And again, guys, please understand that your life is valuable. Today is a very, very important day to bring awareness to, and I'm here to tell you that therapy should be normalized. So I love you guys. Remember to love God, love yourself, and love people, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.